Hello again. I received a very puzzling email this morning from a complete stranger who contacted me via my website. He asked me if that really was a gun in the picture. There was more in the text of the email. He was discussing something that I'd said in a video, but he ended it by saying, by the way, is that really a gun in the picture? This was puzzling, and I thought at first that he was referring to the Winchester which I used to have propped up in the background from time to time, where that picture is now. When I replied, asking what this was all about, he told me that there was some discussion on another YouTube channel about the possibility that I was holding a gun in the enlarged holiday snap behind me, which my wife gave me for Christmas. How my heart sank, because I knew at this point that this was almost certainly something to do with one of the three men who were stalking me a few months ago. And so indeed it proved. Before we go any further, let's have a look at that picture, shall we? Let's have a closer look. Let me see if I can get this thing up there. Let me put the camera on so that I can see where we are. Right, there is the picture. I can't offhand see anything at all that looks like a gun. Both my hands are there. But anyway, I digress slightly. A while ago, when I became aware of these obsessive characters, I would sometimes try and engage them in sensible conversation, although I'm bound to say it proved a futile exercise. I accordingly gave up and left them to it. It's been a few months since I went on the channels concerned, but after getting that email, I went back to look at the channels, all three of them, this morning. It seems they're still at it. If anything, they are even more stalky and obsessive than they were 2 or 3 months ago. That picture behind me, by the way, which I just gave you a closer look, to my eyes seems like an old and innocuous tourist on holiday whose wife has photographed him in front of a famous building, the Dome of the Rock, for those that know Jerusalem. Looking at the comments there on the channel of one of the stalkers I seem to have attracted, I read the following comment. In his latest vid, he appears to be toting a weapon in the photograph behind him. And then there's some comments about, oh, he's trying to look like a hard bastard. Now, I don't see it myself, but this is seemingly where the idea came from. It still looks to me like an old guy on his holidays, but then none of those who comment on those three YouTube channels or run them are what you might describe as normal and sane. You see, when normal people stumble over a YouTube channel which expresses views which they find unacceptable, and it happens to all of us from time to time, we usually simply mutter something contemptuous under our breath and move on to another channel. We don't usually start YouTube channels devoted to that individual, because that would be a bit weird, wouldn't it? If I found myself so anxious to find out about the individual running the channel that I set up a special email account and then contacted him using a false name, then I would know that I had become a stalker. There really is no other word for such behaviour. As a matter of interest, has anybody watching this video ever felt inclined to set up a channel in that way, devoted simply to somebody whose YouTube videos you don't like? Have you then produced 3 videos a day, 4 some days, all about that person? Have you written to him using a false name? I'm guessing that nobody watching this has ever done such a thing. Have you ever found a YouTuber irritating and annoying and then set out to track down his family members? Have you gone to the trouble of finding his daughter's PhD thesis online so that you can check her style of writing and then discuss it with other people obsessed with the YouTuber you dislike. I bet nobody watching this has done so. What about hunting down images of the YouTuber's family and then finding a photograph of his daughter at the age of 14 and using it as the thumbnail to a video which you make about the girl's father? Surely somebody else must have done this. No? I'm not going to mention the names of these three men, but I can say with perfect assurance that all three of them are creepy stalkers. I doubt if they put themselves within breach of the law, although I suspect that they might be in breach of YouTube's community guidelines. After skimming through their channels this morning, I do not feel inclined to go back again for another few months, but I think that the men concerned might want to ask themselves if they really believe that this kind of behaviour is normal. The anonymous letters, seeking out family members and so on. Do they really not know that they are stalkers?